Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm currently on call. I have my pager. I decorated it with paint pens. So if you hear a loud beep go off, that's what that is. Today I thought I would do a video on tips for ERAS, which is the application to apply to residency. And I thought this was really poignant because A, it's around that time where people are starting to fill it out, and B, I actually just had the opportunity to host a panel with Euro Residency, which is a great social media group that gives good tips on urology residency and applying and everything along those lines. So they had me host a panel where I basically asked a bunch of program directors questions about the application, which I thought was a really great opportunity, a lot of fun. I was very nervous. So I thought I would take some of the advice that I got from these program directors during this roundtable, as well as some of the advice that I got when I was applying to residency, compile it into a video for you guys. I literally have notes, so I hope you enjoy. If you do, please don't forget to subscribe, and let's jump right in. So the first piece of advice, and something that I think is very important to know, is that registering for ERAS is not the same as registering for the match. Two separate things, important because you have to register for both. Just putting that out there in the beginning. Second piece of advice, and this came up in the roundtable, you do not have to include, there are a bunch of different sections on ERAS. There's volunteer experience, there's work experience, and research. You do not have to include every single experience you've ever had. The advice that they were giving is, don't include something from high school or from before medical school unless it's something that you spent a lot of time on and maybe continued with you throughout medical school, because otherwise it looks like you're just trying to fill space and it doesn't look very good. The other thing that they mentioned is if you only spent 5-10 hours on something, maybe think about not including it unless it's something really, really cool that only took 5 or 10 hours. If it's something, you only need one experience, but if you spent a lot of time and were really passionate and dedicated a lot of time to that experience, that shows in the amount of time you spent on it per week, how long you've been doing it. So don't worry if you only have a couple experiences, as long as there's something that you're really passionate about and that reflects in your application. This is something that I found really helpful, but hobbies are really important. I know a lot of people who I interviewed with talked about their hobbies. A lot of the residents, when I was going through interviews this year and kind of more behind the scenes, will talk about hobbies. People will bring up your hobbies a lot. So it's cool to have an interesting hobby, like doing the crossword puzzle or editing YouTube or doing something that's a little more unique, because it's a great conversation starter. It can segue you into talking about something, again, that you're really passionate about, but that's not necessarily these cut and dry questions that you get a lot. And if it's really unique, you can teach the interviewer or whoever you're talking to something, which is always a good thing during a residency interview. So I think hobbies are arguably one of the most important parts of your application. Kind of the overarching big piece of advice that came up a lot was, if you're applying to a specialty, you're more than likely very qualified for this specialty, right? So, and everyone who applies is probably more than likely very qualified for this specialty. So you have to find some way to set yourself apart. And some of the advice that they gave in this roundtable for ways to do that is in your personal statement. Don't just write about why you want to do this specialty, because more than likely they've heard it before. It's not anything, unless you have a really cool story about it. I don't know. I can't even think of one. Unless you have a really cool story behind it, don't go into why you want to do this specialty. Go into a unique story that happened to you, a hardship that you've overcome. I had a friend who wrote his personal statement about playing basketball, which I thought was really a unique topic and something that maybe you don't see in all of these personal statements that you go through. Just think about how many personal statements these program directors or these people who look through the applications have to read. You want yours to stand out, and more than one program director said they will pick interviewees based on their personal statement alone. So that's a really good way to stand out. Another really good way is through letters of recommendation. They were saying, ask people who will write you a strong letter of recommendation. preferably from a person in the specialty that you're applying into. I think this matters more for maybe some of the smaller, more competitive specialties, because these program directors more than likely know someone who knows that writer or know that writer directly and will reach out and actually ask that person about you. So letters are really important, and a strong letter really does go far. Not every letter is strong. And so having a letter that really stands out and someone who will advocate for you is another really good way to stand out. Another thing that I think is really important is don't feel as if you have to fill up the description on every single one of these boxes that you have. I know it's tempting. You want to show that you're, doing the work and writing, pretty much as you can write. But again, just think about how many of these applications people have to read. You want to just explain in as to the point as possible what you did, your role in it, how much time you spent on it, and like what you learned from it. And it doesn't have to be 2 paragraphs long. I think people fall into the trap of, we have room, so I need to fill it. That's not the case. And I actually heard that's detrimental if you're just filling it with fluff. This is a more specific piece of advice, but something that I heard when I was going through this is always put a reason for leaving. A lot of times it's hard because you're like, I graduated medical school. Like, you think that the reasons are dumb, but it's always good to just put in your reason for leaving whatever activity you did. I just heard that throughout my application, and so I did that, but I'm just passing that along to you guys. Another piece of advice I heard on this roundtable was, if possible, tailor your application towards specific programs. I know that's hard if you apply to a lot of different programs, which I did. I applied to like 90 programs, so it was very hard to tailor an application, but I did it to the programs that I was really, really interested in, and I think it makes a big difference. If you take the time to tailor an application towards the programs that you're interested in, I think it shows. Not everyone does that. You're not just throwing in an application. It means that you took the time to actually think about this. And that was one of the big pieces of advice that one of the program directors really liked to talk about, how if he sees an application that's tailored towards that program, he spends extra time on it and really, really takes the time to consider it. One thing that I was surprised about in this roundtable was in terms of post-interview communication. A lot of the programs didn't care. They were like, it's nice to receive it. It plays absolutely no role in the decision-making process of rank, and they will not, respond. They just see it, and they, it's a nice thing to do, and I don't think it hurts you, but I don't think that it helps for a lot of places, which I thought was really interesting. One of the other pieces of advice that I think was a really good piece of advice was in terms of international medical graduate or DO graduates in some programs that historically don't take as many DO students. Really utilizing your connections is very important, whether that's finding a mentor that can reach out to people for you and advocate on your behalf. Even if you're like an MD student, but you say don't have a lot of research at your home institution, one of the program directors was saying that was the case at his school, and that he was very impressed by one individual who sent out emails to urologists all over the country asking for any research opportunities that they had. And that's just utilizing those connections, getting your name out there. You then have to follow up on that. If someone offers you a project, you have to, do it. But utilizing whatever resources you have is, I think, never a bad thing. The thing that you have to watch out for is don't have your program director reach out to too many people on your behalf, because it's awkward for them. They don't want to advocate for you for one place if in fact you really actually want to go somewhere else. That just puts them in an awkward situation and maybe hurts people after you, who this program director or whoever will advocate for. So use your contacts, but be smart about it. And to end off on a couple of more logistical things, the first is, I'm sure you know this, but submit on the first day. Don't wait. Prepare everything beforehand so you can just press submit on the day that the application opens. It's very important. Secondly, make a separate email address for ERAS correspondence and set a different ringtone on your phone. I know they have changed up interviews now from the way that it was when I was getting the interviews, where it's not so much first come, first serve anymore, at least for urology. I don't know how it is for other specialties, but you want to set a different ringtone so you can hear when you get an email, so you can respond in a very timely manner. I found that was really helpful for me to set a different ringtone and a different vibrate tone. And then also, I'm not gonna lie, that is why I bought this Apple Watch back when I was a 4th year med student, so I could get these ERAS updates immediately to my wrist, even when I was rounding, so I didn't have to check my phone all the time. And then I could be like, I need to respond to this right now, because that's how quickly interview spots would fill up. Don't regret it, still wear this every day, but yeah, that was really helpful for me. And it also just, even if you don't have to like respond right away, just to have it all organized under one email address, so you have all that correspondence there and are not sifting through like targeted ads or whatever else you get in your email, the daily Crate and Barrel emails that I get. It makes it really easy and really helpful. So yeah, that is it. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck to everyone who is applying this year. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I love giving advice like this, even though maybe I'm not the best resource, but I'm here. So please reach out with any questions, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.